Hello everyone, my name is Kenton Kivestu. I'm an ex-BCG consultant, an ex-Googler, and the founder of RocketBlocks, an online platform that helps students prepare for case interviews. In today's RocketBlocks mini lesson, we're going to be talking about how to actually select the right stories and anecdotes for the fit portion of your interviews. Now, in a prior series we talked about actually how do you tell those stories, how do you structure them, how do you communicate the lessons you learned, the actions you took, and the results you achieved. So if you want to check that out, the link is down in the description below. But in this series, we're actually going to take a step further back. And what we're going to do is we're going to focus on how do you actually find the right stories and anecdotes to share in the interview itself. And we want to take a look, back at your past and really find those kind of defining moments that are going to help communicate why you would be such a valuable asset to the firm that you're interviewing for. So we've got a few very straightforward and simple tips that are going to help you do this. So let's jump in and get started. Okay, so the first thing before we get to the specific tips is there's a certain lens I want you to keep in mind. And that lens is related to something that we've talked about in a prior video. Again, link is down in the description below. And that is basically what are the skills and traits that the firms are really looking for in the fit interviews overall. And as we discussed, these are things like proven leadership abilities, collaboration and ability to constructively work with a team, and drive and problem solving, ability to just get things done and drive to a solution even in the face of adversity. So again, we've talked about those in detail in the past video, so we're not going to discuss them here, but I want you to use them as basically a lens as we're thinking about these other tips, and they should color kind of how we're thinking about specifically what type of stories we're looking for, because ultimately, if you can demonstrate one of those qualities or two or even three all within the same story, that really turns into a home run in terms of something that you can share with the firms. So let's jump in. Tip number one, look for defining moments. Now, you might say, wait a second, that's super basic. Of course I'm going to look for defining moments in terms of stories to share. But there is a trap that a lot of candidates get caught in here where they end up finding moments and anecdotes and stories to tell that are much more about their company affiliation with an impressive company, like, oh, I used to work at Google and X and Y happened. Or I used to be part of this team, we launched new product and it achieved $100 million revenue run rate in the first year. And what happens is the focus becomes about an affiliation with an impressive company or an impressive kind of numerical result from a particular team, and less about what that individual actually did to help drive that result. And so that's really what you want to focus on. You want the individual action. And I found that one exercise that can be really helpful for this is take 3 to 5 post-it notes and think back through your entire career to date. And on those post-it notes, you get to write one sentence each, and like a very simple causal sentence with no brand names. So strip out all the brand names and that type of junk. You really just want to get to what did you do and what result did it achieve. Very simple sentences. So I did X and Y was the result. Now, if you go through and you think about your entire career and you write down the top 3 to 5 of those on post-it notes, when you start looking through that list, chances are that's going to be a really good filter that's going to pull out some very kind of instrumental moments for you of times where you took a chance and you did something X and learned some great new skill, or you did this and it helped achieve, unlock a certain milestone for a team. That's really the type of stuff that you want to get to, and this result can be in this kind of exercise with the post-it notes and very simple basic sentences with the brand names, etc., stripped out, can be a very powerful way to kind of curate that and really bubble up some of those great anecdotes to the top. Tip number 2. Choose authentic stories. Now, this is something that is really important to get right because it has such a positive impact when you do, but it is also something that is very tough to coach on because it's incredibly personal, and what makes everyone authentic is obviously very specialized to that particular person. But one thing that I think can be really helpful here is to use a marketing framework called points of parity, points of differentiation. And essentially what this framework means is it's a lightweight framework for companies to compare their product in market to other companies and see if they can kind of match and meet other companies on the key different features and basically be at parity with those companies across a set of features, but then find one or two things that are really key differentiators about their particular product. And then they go to market and they really kind of message on those key things, and that's really what sets them apart and allows them to win in market against their competitive products. Now, those key differentiators, that's the same thing as essentially finding really good anecdotes and stories that are authentic to you and play up your key strengths. So if you think about that, like if you come from, say, a sales background, for example, and you are a fantastic salesperson, you have a lot of great experience there and lessons that you've learned over the years, and maybe you are, say, quantitative enough to get the job, but it's never going to be your key strength. You could come into the fit portion of your interviews and tell some stories about quantitative work you've done in the past and try and play that up. But you might have more success by really kind of using something that, rather than a parity point with other candidates, is going to be a key differentiator. And you could tell some great stories from your sales experience, tough clients that you've worked with and how you worked through that and made a sale, and lessons you learned from that. Those are the type of stories that really could become your key differentiators, a thing that like paints a really authentic and valuable picture of your skill set and how the firm would really benefit from hiring you. So that's really what you want to find when you're looking for those authentic stories. Tip number 3, high impact stories. You want to find stories that have and end with kind of a big, meaningful impact, either for you, the team, or even the whole company. And it could be something that is highly quantifiable and measurable, like a business metric. So say your actions helped lead the team to a 5% increase in overall revenues. That would be a fantastic business outcome and certainly qualify. But it could be things that are not as quantifiable in the same sense. So say, for example, your actions helped take a team that was having a lot of struggles kind of cooperating and collaborating and helped actually gel them together, which then led to kind of a big outcome down the line and the team to actually successfully conclude on a particular project. That could be a really good outcome as well. It's different than a specific business metric outcome, but it's still meaningful. And that's the type of story you want to look for. You want to make sure there's some sort of high impact that you can point to at the end of the story or anecdote. Okay, tip number 4, the fourth and final tip. Choose stories that have clear lessons learned. Now, here's some really great news. If you've been following tips 1, 2, and 3 already, you've chosen defining moments that are authentic, that have clear high impact. Tip number 4 is going to be a breeze. You just need to figure out what the lessons learned are, but certainly those stories, if you've done that already, are going to have some great lessons learned from them. Now, the last thing I'll say on this is that when you think about choosing a whole roster of stories, so a series of stories that you're potentially going to be sharing over the course of your fit interviews, you want to make sure that you're finding some stories that highlight the different aspects of you. So different types of lessons you learn, different types of skills you bring to the table. So as much as possible, you want to highlight a variety of those as opposed to just hammering home on the same kind of skill set or lessons learned over and over again. So that's one last thing to think about. Okay, so let's do a quick recap. When it comes to choosing stories and anecdotes for the fit portion of your interview, you really want to focus on 4 things. First, find the real key kind of career-defining moments that you've had to date. 2, pick out the ones that are really authentic and true to who you are and paint a picture of why and what kind of unique abilities you will really bring to the table. 3, make sure those stories have high impact that you can point to. And 4, make sure they have clear lessons learned that will indicate what you actually really took away from that experience and how you can bring that to the table for the firm that you'll be working for. Thanks again for watching. We'll have more great videos on both the fit and case portion of the interviews coming soon, so please subscribe below, and we'll see you soon.